What would you do if you saw a bully raising his fists against two helpless little girls at the park? Most people would turn away, but not this single dad. He stepped in without hesitation, and what happened next changed his life forever. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories that will leave you inspired. Ethan Walker never considered himself a hero. He was just a single dad, trying to raise his 8-year-old son, Noah, in a world that seemed to get harsher every day. His days were filled with long hours at the auto repair shop, his evenings with homework and bedtime stories, and his weekends with trips to the park where Noah could run free, chase soccer balls, and laugh like a child should. Ethan's life was simple and often exhausting, but he wouldn't trade it for anything. Noah was his reason to keep going, even when loneliness crept in and the weight of responsibility pressed hard on his shoulders. One bright Saturday afternoon, the park was alive with children. The summer sun warmed the playground while the chatter of parents filled the air. Ethan sat on a bench, sipping from his travel mug of lukewarm coffee, watching Noah kick his worn-out soccer ball with a group of kids he had just met. For a brief moment, Ethan allowed himself to relax, soaking in the laughter and the breeze. That peace didn't last long. He noticed movement near the swings, a harsh sound splitting the calm, a raised voice, aggressive and sharp. Ethan's eyes narrowed as he spotted a tall boy, maybe 13 or 14, towering over two little girls who couldn't have been older than 7. They were identical twins, their matching braids swinging as they clung to each other's hands, eyes wide with fear. The boy shoved one of the girls, hard enough to make her stumble to the dirt, and barked something cruel that Ethan couldn't quite hear over the park noise. Ethan's chest tightened instantly. He had seen bullies before, he'd been a victim himself as a child, but seeing those girls so small, so defenseless, triggered something primal inside him. He looked around. Parents were watching, whispering, some shaking their heads, but no one moved. The boy sneered, drawing back his fist as though to strike the other twin, and that was when Ethan shot up from his bench. He didn't think. He didn't calculate consequences. He just moved. "Hey!" His voice boomed across the park, deep and commanding. The boy froze mid-motion, fist still in the air, his bravado faltering when he saw Ethan's tall, muscular frame charging toward him. Ethan reached the group in seconds, stepping between the bully and the terrified girls. "You don't lay a hand on them," Ethan said, his tone sharp and protective. The boy stammered, trying to act tough, but Ethan's unwavering glare made him shrink back. They started it," the boy muttered, his voice breaking, but Ethan didn't budge. "Go home," Ethan ordered, his jaw tight. The boy hesitated, then turned and stormed off, mumbling curses under his breath, but clearly too intimidated to stand his ground. As soon as he was gone, Ethan crouched down to the girl's level. Both were trembling, tears clinging to their lashes. "Hey, you're safe now," he said gently, his voice softening. "No one's going to hurt you while I'm here." One of the twins sniffled. "He took our doll, he broke it." The other added, and he pushed Emma down. Ethan's heart ached. He wanted to wrap them both in the kind of safety he always tried to give Noah. "I'm sorry you had to go through that," he said, brushing dirt from the knee of the girl who had fallen. "But you're okay now. What's your name?" "Emma," the first girl whispered. "And she's Ella." "Emma and Ella," Ethan repeated, smiling softly despite the situation. "Beautiful names. I'm Ethan. And that little guy over there kicking the ball, he's my son, Noah. You don't have to be scared anymore, okay?" The girls nodded, clinging tighter to each other. Noah noticed the commotion and ran over, his soccer ball tucked under his arm. "Dad, what happened?" he asked, his young face filled with concern. "Just a bully who needed to be reminded how to behave," Ethan said, ruffling Noah's hair. "These are Emma and Ella. Why don't you say hi?" Noah's natural kindness shone through as he smiled and offered them his ball. "Wanna play?" The twins glanced at Ethan, then at each other, and finally nodded shyly. Within moments, the three children were running off toward the open grass, laughter replacing fear. Ethan exhaled, sitting back on the bench, but his heart was still pounding. He glanced around the park, noticing parents whispering, watching him with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. A few nodded approvingly, but no one came forward. That was fine with him. He hadn't done it for attention. He had done it because it was right. After a while, Ethan saw a woman hurrying across the park, her heels clicking against the pavement, a strange choice of footwear for grass and playground sand. She was tall, elegant, her hair perfectly styled, her tailored dress out of place among the casual t-shirts and jeans of the other parents. She looked like she had stepped out of an office, not into a park. Her eyes scanned the playground frantically until they landed on Emma and Ella. Relief flooded her features, quickly replaced by confusion when she saw them playing happily with Noah. She approached Ethan's bench, her voice tinged with urgency. "Excuse me, those are my daughters. Emma and Ella." Ethan stood, offering a reassuring smile. "They're safe. A boy was giving them trouble, but I stepped in." The woman's eyes widened, a flicker of alarm giving way to gratitude. She knelt briefly, calling to her girls, who ran into her arms. "Mommy," they cried, clinging to her. She held them tight, her composure breaking for just a moment as she kissed their foreheads. Ethan watched silently, touched by the obvious bond. After a moment, the woman looked up at him, her expression soft but searching. "You helped them?" "Yeah," Ethan said simply. "I couldn't just sit and watch. They were scared." She studied him for a long moment, as if measuring his sincerity. "Most people would have ignored it," she finally said, her voice low. "Thank you, truly. I don't know what I would have done if they had been hurt." Ethan shrugged, a little embarrassed by the attention. Any decent person would have done the same. But the woman shook her head slightly, as though she knew better. She straightened, adjusting her blazer, and extended her hand. "I'm Claire. Claire Hamilton." Ethan shook her hand politely, not recognizing the name. "Ethan Walker." Claire glanced at Noah, who was still laughing with Emma and Ella. "That's your son?" "Yeah," Ethan said, his face softening with pride. "He's my world." Something flickered in Claire's eyes, a look Ethan couldn't quite read, half admiration, half curiosity. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it again as though thinking better of it. Instead, she smiled faintly. "You've done more than you know today, Mr. Walker. You didn't just protect my girls, you reminded me there are still good people out there." Ethan gave a small nod, unsure how to respond. He wasn't looking for praise. He was just glad the girls were okay. But as Claire gathered her daughters and prepared to leave, she hesitated. "Would you mind if we met again? Maybe the kids could play together sometime. I think Emma and Ella could use a friend like your son." Ethan was surprised, but he smiled. "Sure. Noah would love that." Claire returned his smile, though her eyes held a weight, a secret Ethan didn't yet understand. As she walked away with her daughters, Ethan sat back down, watching his son run in circles with uncontainable joy. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness had set wheels in motion that would soon turn his world upside down. Because Claire Hamilton wasn't just any mother, she was the wife of one of the most powerful CEOs in the city. And fate had just tied Ethan's humble life to a world he never imagined he'd be part of. The next day, Ethan was stunned when a black car pulled up outside his modest home. Claire stepped out, her presence commanding as always, but this time with a warmth in her smile. She introduced Ethan to her husband, Daniel Hamilton, the CEO whose face Ethan had seen countless times on billboards across the city. Daniel shook Ethan's hand firmly, thanking him for saving his daughters. What shocked Ethan most was what came next. Daniel offered him a job, not just as a mechanic, but as the personal supervisor of the Hamilton family's private garage.